أهلا بيكم في دروس الأحياء لصف الثالث ثانوي لغات. Today's lecture will continue our talk about the reproduction in human beings. So let's begin. And now, reproduction in human beings involves the study of the sex organs, male sex organs and female sex organs. And we have what's so-called, you can call the external genitalia, the external sex organs, which is the penis and vagina in penis in male and vagina in females, and internal sex organs, uterus and rest of vagina in females, and the prostate and seminal vesicles and vas in males. So we'll start by the males. The male genital system consists of two testicles. Each testis leads to the tubules of the epididymis and vas deferens, and there are accessory glands in the urethra as well. The system produces sperms and secretes male hormones functioning for the sexual criteria in males, you know, like hair face and musculature and all other male characteristics. The two testes present outside the body in a special sac called the scrotum. The testes are the site for the production of the male sperms. Testis opens into the epididymis. The epididymis continues as the vas deferens, and the vas deferens enters the body to join the seminal vesicle to form the ejaculatory duct that enters the prostate and opens into the urethra. Urethra goes outside the body in the penis. So we have the testis, epididymis, vas deferens, seminal vesicles, ejaculatory duct in the prostate, and ejaculatory duct opens into the male urethra. Urethra goes outside the body in the penis. Now, why it's thrown outside the body, the testis? Because the temperature outside the body is less than the temperature of the body, and this is the suitable temperature for the production of sperms. Remember that. It's the suitable environment for the production of male sperms. That's why the testis first formed inside the body and descended to the outside. If it fails to descend, first of all, it predisposes to cancer and infertility. Infertility يعني عقم. كانسر يعني سرطان. لو ما نزلتش بتعمل سرطان، ولو برضو ما نزلتش بتعمل عقم. Importance of the testis: production of sperms, of course, and the secretion of testosterone hormone, which causes the secondary male characteristics to appear at puberty. ده اللي مسؤول، التستوستيرون هو اللي مسؤول عن صفات الذكورة اللي بتحصل عند البلوغ. في عندنا two epididymis coming out of each testis. Epididymis continues as vas deferens. Vas deferens enters the body. See the vas deferens entering the body. This is the vas deferens. Meets the seminal vesicle. Two seminal vesicles. They secrete alkaline fluid containing fructose, sugar, to nourish the sperms. And prostate glands and the paraurethral glands, or the Cooper's glands, it secretes sugary fluid for the nourishment of the sperms and neutralizes the acidity in the urethra. The neutral medium is the suitable environment for the sperms. And the penis is a spongy tissue organ, contains the urethra. urine and sperms are expelled from it separately. Okay, so these are the male sex organs. Study of the transverse section of the testis. The testis is built up of seminiferous tubules, as you can see here, among them interstitial cells, which secrete testosterone hormones. Inside each tubule is Sertoli cells, secrete fluid for the nourishment of the sperms. So inside the tubules we have Sertoli cells, secrete fluid to nourish the sperms, and it has role in immunity. And between the cells we have the cells that secretes testosterone hormone. Each tubule also is lined internally by the primary germ cells. Primary germ cells are diploid number, and they are the precursor or the origin of the sperms that's formed later on. The formation of sperms occurs through 4 phases: multiplication phase, growth phase, and maturation phase, and metamorphosis phase. Multiplication, growth, maturation, and metamorphosis phase. Now, multiplication and growth are diploid number, and maturation and metamorphosis are haploid number, 1n. Multiplication phase is meiotic division takes place several times in the primary germ cells, and a great number of spermatogonia, diploid number, is formed. The growth phase, these spermatogonia store food and transformed into primary spermatocytes. This is the primary spermatocyte, which is diploid in number. The maturation phase, in this stage the primary spermatocyte undergo meiosis 1, the result being secondary spermatocytes. Secondary spermatocytes, also haploid in number, which undergo meiosis 2, and resulting cells are the haploid spermatids. So primary spermatocyte, secondary spermatocyte, spermatids. Remember that the primary spermatocyte is diploid number 2n, and the secondary spermatocyte and spermatids are haploid number or 1n. Okay, in which the chromosomes is reduced to half in maturation phase. Now, metamorphosis phase, spermatids changed into sperms. The sperm is a spermatid that undergone metamorphosis and acquired a neck and a tail for its movement. So these are the stages of production of sperms. Remember, 4 stages: multiplication phase, growth phase, here till here it's diploid number, maturation phase, and which starting from meiosis 1 and meiosis 2, and then the metamorphosis phase, in which the spermatids changes into the sperms, full-grown sperms. Structure of a sperm: it has a head. The head contains a nucleus with 23 chromosomes. There is an acrosome in the forehead. This is the acrosome. Secretes hyaluronic enzyme that dissolves a part of the ovum membrane that you will study later. The ovum is surrounded by a membrane to protect the ovum. This acrosome helps in penetrating this coat of the ovum. Then we have the neck, contains 2 centrioles, which play an important role in the fertilized ovum later on. The mid piece or the middle piece contains mitochondria for the supply of energy. You know the mitochondria. You know that mitochondria is responsible for energy production. Then the tail or the flagellum is kind of flagellum. It's for the movement of the sperm. Okay, so we have head, neck, midpiece, and tail. The head containing the acrosome. The neck contains two centrioles. The midpiece contains the mitochondria, and the tail for the movement of the sperms. Now, the human female genital system. We have also external genitalia, as the vulva and beginning of the vagina, and internal sex organs, the uterus and the rest of the vagina and the fallopian tubes and the ovaries. Okay, the system produces the ova and female sex hormones, and also provides a safe place for the growth of the embryo if fertilization happened. Organs present behind the urinary bladder in the pelvic region, and also connected in with elastic ligaments for the that allows for the expansion during pregnancy. We'll start by the two ovaries, two almond-shaped structures at the side of the pelvis. They are oval in shape, that's why they're called the ovaries, and they are responsible for production of the ovum, of course, and female sex hormones. Each ovary contains thousands of ova in early during childhood, but only for about 400 mature after maturity, and they are started to emerge from the ova, from each ovary alternating pattern each month from, for example, this month from the right ovary, then the next month from the left ovary. And the ovary secretes maturation hormones for regulating the menstrual cycle and embryo development. The ovum produced by the ovary is picked up by these finger-like projections called the fimbria of the fallopian tube. This is called the fallopian tube or oviduct. It picks up the ovum by its finger-like projections, and inside the fallopian tube there are cilia to move the ova towards the uterus. By the way, fertilization, al-ikhsab, the sperm meets the ovum in the fallopian tube. Remember this. So it doesn't meet the ovum in the uterus. No, it meets it. So the sperm travels from the vagina into the uterus to the beginning of the fallopian tube where it meets the ova. The two fallopian tubes open into the uterus, which is a muscular organ, and it has a thick muscular wall lined with a glandular membrane. The uterus is ended with the cervix. This is the cervix, which opens to the vagina. The embryo is formed inside the uterus, and of course the pregnancy lasts for 9 months. Okay? But I want you please to remember that fertilization occurs into the fallopian tube, inside the fallopian tube, not inside the uterus. Implantation of the fertilized ovum occurs in the uterus. Implantation يعني كأنها بتزرع نفسها في جدار الرحم. الأوفم اللي هي متخصبة بتزرع نفسها في جدار الرحم. فطبعا ده بيحصل في الرحم، لكن الإخصاب نفسه بيحصل في الفالوبيان تيوب. Vagina, muscular tube also, length about 7 centimeters. The tube is lined by a glandular membrane that secretes mucus fluid to moisten the membrane of the vagina, to provides moisture for the vagina. As the female approaches maturity, monthly rhythmic changes occurs inside the uterus. If the ovum becomes fertilized, so pregnancy will occur. But if it's not fertilized, no implantation will occur in the uterus, and the ovum will be expelled with the lining of the uterus called the endometrium. This is called the menstruation أو الدورة الشهرية. لما بيحصلش إخصاب البويضة بتنزل بتبقى تطرد لبره مع جزء من الغشاء المبطن للرحم، وهو ده الدم بتاع الدورة الشهرية. مع كبر السن عند 40 45 50 سنة الفيميل بتبطل انها تطلع اوفا، وتبطل ان السايكليك تشينجز بتحصل في اليوترس، وده اسمه المينوباز. اوكي، المينوباز. Study of transverse section of the ovary. هنلاقي ان الاوفا موجودة inside a follicle called Graafian follicle. شايفين Graafian follicle جواها الاوفم to protect the ovum, the Graafian follicle to protect the ovum. بعد كده Graafian follicle ruptures and expels the ovum to the surface of the ovary، والجرافيان follicle نفسها بتتحول لحاجة اسمها corpus luteum. الcorpus luteum ده خدوا بالكم، الcorpus luteum ده active، بيسكريت هرمونز. امتى؟ في اول 3 شهور من البريجنسي لغاية ما المشيمة تتكون. فالجرافيان فوليكل دي بتفضل تفرز هرمونز في اول 3 شهور من الحمل لغاية ما المشيمة تتكون، والمشيمة هي بعد كده اللي بتكمل افراز الهرمونات. والجرافيان فوليكل دي جنريتس وبتتحول لحاجة اسمها كوربس البيكانس او الجسم الابيض. كوربس لوتيوم الجسم الاصفر، لوتيوم يعني اصفر، بتتحول لكوربس البيكانس او الجسم الابيض. Stages of oogenesis بنلاحظ هنا انها 3 stages only, not 4 like the sperms. في multiplication phase، وفي growth phase، وفي maturation phase. Multiplication phase, growth phase, and maturation phase. Multiplication phase في mitotic division. Mitotic division takes place in the primary germ cells اللي موجودة forming oogonia. دي diploid in number يعني 2n، وده بيحصل في الامبريو، بيحصل في الفيميل وهي لسه امبريو. Remember this multiplication phase. الجروث phase الاوغونيا اللي اتكونت اللي هي diploid store an amount of food, increase in size and transforms into primary oocyte برضو diploid number، وده برضو بيحصل في الامبريو. وبيقف عند هنا بقى، عند البلوغ والإخصاب maturation phase occurs. The primary oocyte اللي هي diploid in number is divided by first meiotic division into secondary oocyte وحاجة اسمها first polar body. شايفين secondary oocyte first polar body. Okay, non-active first polar body. Then the secondary oocyte divided by secondary meiotic division giving an ovum and the second polar body زي ما انتم شايفين هنا. Secondary oocyte divides by second meiosis 2 into an egg اللي هي haploid number برضو و second polar body. البولار بودي اللي اتكون قبل كده بينقسم ل 2 polar bodies، فيبقى المحصلة كام؟ 3 polar bodies. 3 polar bodies. Okay, 3 polar bodies اتكونوا. تاني multiplication phase in which the mitotic division takes place in the primary germ cells forming oogonia, وده بيحصل في female embryo. الجروث phase الاوغونيا اللي اتكونت diploid number برضو stores food, increase in size, transformed into primary oocyte برضو diploid number برضو in the female embryo. بعد كده بقى المaturation phase, البرايمري oocyte divided by first meiotic division into secondary oocyte. both ده عند البلوغ, بيحصل عند البلوغ, وبيكون secondary oocyte و first polar body, both of them haploid number. لما بيحصل إخصاب, لما السبرم بيقابل الأوفا, بيحصل second meiotic division giving an ovum and a second polar body. The later polar body is divided by meiotic division into two polar bodies, so المحصلة بيكون 3 polar bodies. Okay, the ovum contains cytoplasm and the nucleus enveloped by hyaluronic acid. الكوت بتاع الأوفم ده بيبقى pierced by the acrosomes of the sperms. Remember the acrosomes of the sperms we talked about earlier? They help in penetrating the coat of the ovum, the produced ovum, to fertilize the ovum. Okay. So this is what we have to say about the male and female external sex organs. I hope you got the maximum benefit from this lecture, and thank you very much for watching.